They say the first lie is the smallest, the one a person tells to protect a life already cracking, until the echo of it becomes a hallway no one can escape. Tonight, the echo learned her name. Mara Quinn used to measure time by routines: the hiss of the espresso machine at 6:12 a.m., the ring of the office door at 8:47, the click of her husband's key at 6:19 sharp. But lately, time measured her. A pulse under the skin, a restless drum that made ordinary minutes feel like a room with windows nailed shut. The marriage wasn't cruel. Worse, it was kind, careful, predictably gentle in ways that felt like a lullaby sung too long. She still wore her ring, she had simply stopped checking if it was warm. It began at a panel no one stayed for. The firm's winter showcase, bad coffee in polished cups, brittle applause. He was there, Elia's heart, hired as a strategic consultant for a brand they were both pretending could be rescued. He didn't enter the room, he tilted it, the way certain people do when their quiet is louder than anyone's performance. He asked her one question on the way out, not about the campaign, but about the way she'd argued against safe ideas with her hands hidden in her pockets like she was saving heat for later. It felt like being seen with the lights off. Mara thought she would forget him by morning. She didn't. She noticed the smell of winter on her coat and thought of his scarf, dark, threaded, the color of storms that don't commit. When he emailed a thank you with a single line, "You argue like someone who keeps a suitcase packed," she replied with nothing but a period, as if punctuation could keep a door from swinging open. Doors, she learned, don't ask permission. Their first not a date took place where people go to hear themselves think: an old greenhouse turned cafe, fogged glass, fallen leaves pressed like amber into the grout lines. Elias didn't try to be charming, which was its own charm. He let silence wind around the table until she broke it with laughter that felt dangerously young. He said he changed careers twice because standing still made him dizzy. She said she sometimes felt like a life jacket for a life nobody was drowning in. They spoke the kind of truths people usually fold into napkins and throw away. When he touched her wrist to emphasize a point, it wasn't sexual. It was a volt, a small, bright yes her body answered before she knew there had been a question. Mara walked home with a new problem. She could hear her heart in her footsteps. Her husband, Aaron, looked up from a recipe he was trying for the third time. "You're late," he smiled, like a forgiveness no one had asked for. She said the train stalled. The first lie was small. All first lies are. Episodic hook. Mara receives a message at 2:03 a.m. Elias has shared a song with no caption, a piano piece that sounds like a secret arguing with itself. And for the first time in years, she listens to something all the way through in the dark. Serialized stories thrive on mini climaxes, so this act escalates desire into moral conflict while preserving fade to black discretion. Mara and Elias begin a ritual. Twilight walks that look like exercise, breakfasts that look like errands, moments that look like chance. They practice plausible deniability like a second language and become fluent. The city joins them. Even traffic lights seem to hold their breath. Elias never asks her to choose. He offers her attention like oxygen. He notices the books she doesn't finish, the way she flinches when kindness lands too hard, the way she smiles when something breaks in a neat way, a dropped glass that doesn't shatter, a day that goes wrong but leaves a pretty bruise. He says she underestimates her courage because she measures it only in leaps, never in the quiet resistance of staying herself. She tells him that staying has started to feel like disappearing. Nothing explicit happens, and then everything does without a single sentence anyone could indict. A door closes, a record flips, rain starts. His shoulder becomes a place, not a body part. When she finally kisses him, it's a question mark that forgets to curl. Fade to black where the fabric gathers, where breath turns to weather, where the camera looks away on purpose. Restraint is its own intimacy. What's hidden is what glows. After, the world refuses to end. Morning arrives, impolite and faithful. Mara stands at a sink that is not hers, rinsing a glass she did not dirty, staring at a window that reflects a stranger trying on her face. Elias tells her there is no safe way to want the wrong thing. She laughs because wanting hasn't felt wrong in months. It has felt like waking up. But she pockets her ring before she leaves his place, and that's how she knows the wanting is fire. Fire leaves a signature, the smell of something that used to be solid. Midpoint hook. Erin learns a new recipe, sets the table with better silver, asks about her day, and when she answers with the truth rearranged, he says carefully, "You're happiest when it rains now." She almost asks how he knows. He almost asks who taught her. A good serial widens its lens, new threads, rising stakes, and turning points that cannot be undone. Mara's boss assigns her to lead the account that keeps Elias in the building. Proximity becomes policy. Meetings acquire subtext like fog, conference rooms sweat. Someone in finance notices their calendars agree too often and says nothing, because people are kind and cruelty has more obvious shapes. Mara becomes operationally excellent at deceit. New passcodes, mirrored alibis, perfume that smells like memory loss. It exhausts her, the way joy does when it's borrowed. She starts narrating her days in two columns in her head. The story she lives, the story she can survive telling. The distance between them becomes the plot. Elias is steadier than she expects. He doesn't make promises, he makes plans short enough to keep. Saturday mornings, the third booth, a town 2 stops away where nobody knows her coat. He tells her he once left someone kindly, and it hurt them both. He tells her he won't be the reason she detonates a life she might still want. She says the detonator isn't him. It's the quiet that came before him, humming like a device. The first irreversible turn, Aaron finds the receipt. Not damning, flowers, not a hotel, a place they never go. He doesn't accuse, he cooks. He makes the same meal he made on their third date. He lights the candles that make her sneeze. He plays the playlist they forgot to retire. "Do you ever miss us?" he asks. From before fine meant please drop it? She says yes and hates that it's true. She sleeps next to him like a person acting out a remembered role. In the morning, she throws the receipt away and keeps the hand that shook. Cliffhanger. On a rainy Tuesday, Mara opens a locker at the gym and finds a small white envelope inside her bag, addressed in handwriting that isn't hers. Inside, a photograph of her and Elias crossing a street, not touching and somehow unmistakable. No note, just proof that stories are porous. Exposure risk, internal reckoning, and a price. Mara scans through worst-case scenarios like channels. Who? Why? She considers telling the truth like a surgery done wide awake. Elias advises caution, not denial. Secrets rot faster when fed panic. He's right, which doesn't taste like relief. The photograph is a witness and a dare. Days become surveillance. She notices the woman on the corner with the red umbrella one too many times, the man who doesn't look up at his phone for 4 whole blocks, the way quiet suddenly feels like someone holding their breath. It might be paranoia, it might be plot. In serials, it's both. At work, the account implodes, the client wants bolder, the team offers safer, and Mara, tired of small permissions, pitches the version that scares everyone. It's brilliant, which is a kind of sin. Elias backs her. The room splits into people who love air and people who prefer doors. They win the pitch and lose plausible deniability in the same hour. Victory arrives like a bouquet with thorns already practicing. Aaron's mother lands in the hospital, nothing catastrophic, just a warning written in hospital light. Mara sits next to him in the waiting room and remembers why they built a life. He is good at holding worry without making it hers. He falls asleep in a chair, and she holds his hand and does not cry. Later, in the elevator, he says quietly, "Whatever you're carrying, it's heavier than it needs to be. Let me help. Kindness is sometimes the trapdoor." All is lost beat. A second envelope arrives, this time at home. Same handwriting, no photo, just 3 words, "Tell him yourself." She realizes the witness isn't demanding money. They're demanding authorship. The story will be hers, or it will be a weapon. Climaxes in relationship plots are turning points that change the direction forever. Mara chooses the only control left, she tells Aaron. Not everything, not the fabric and the rain, but enough for the ground to tilt. When, where, why her quiet became a locked room. He listens like a person trying not to break something delicate with his hands. When he does speak, it's not the question she braced for. "Who taught you to be this alone while standing next to me?" She has no defense that isn't a map back to the beginning. He leaves for a drive that becomes a night. She doesn't follow. She calls Elias and says, "I set the fire alarm, now we wait outside." He wants to come over, she says no. The night becomes a mirror that shows only consequences. Words have mass, they keep waking up and landing. By morning, the witness reveals themselves because that's what pressure does. It turns silence into confession. It's not a stranger. It's Leela, Mara's colleague, the one who hates waste and writes the best subject lines. Leela isn't cruel. She's furious. She had an affair once, years ago, and her life detonated in a less cinematic way. Custody hearings, weaponized small talk, friends who specialized in the word actually. She saw Mara walking toward the same cliff and thought, "If I can't save you, I can at least make you look. She says she never planned to ruin Mara. She planned to stop the part of Mara that would ruin herself. It's not justification, it's motive. Episodic hook. Aaron returns at dusk with eyes that look like sleep he didn't have. He places his ring next to hers on the counter, side by side like moons. I don't know if forgiveness is a door we can both fit through, he says, but I know I don't want to live in a house where the smoke alarm is the only thing that tells me you're alive. Choice arrives dressed like mercy. Final acts aren't about happy or sad, they're about honest. Mara moves into a small sublet with a balcony that holds exactly 2 chairs and one stubborn plant. She and Aaron separate quietly, the calm kind that still hurts, the kind that divides books by marginalia, not genre. They start therapy, separately first, then with a chair between them that holds what they didn't say soon enough. They do not perform heroism, they practice accountability. It looks like boredom sometimes. It is work without applause. Elias doesn't become the prize at the end of a maze. He becomes a person with edges she hadn't studied yet. Stubborn about truth, allergic to secrets, unwilling to be a port if she is still a storm. For months, they are a maybe with boundaries. They walk without holding hands. They say the word no to each other and survive it. Desire, shown daylight, either withers or roots. The story chooses roots, but slowly, because pace is character. When Mara finally invites Aaron to the balcony, it's to return a book he wrote in the margins of when they were 27. They laugh in the exact same spot and then stop, aware of the muscle memory of joy. He tells her he met someone for coffee, nothing dramatic, a beginning that feels like a room with the windows open. They are not friends. They are two people who did not let each other disappear in the final paragraph. That's its own ending. The witness, Leela, apologizes without expecting absolution, which is the correct way to apologize. Mara forgives without forgetting, which is the correct way to remember. At work, the account that burned them bright leads to a quieter promotion, the kind that rewards clarity instead of stunt. Mara mentors an intern who argues with her hands in her pockets like she's saving heat for later. Take them out, Mara says, smiling. Spend it while you've got it. Final image, rain lifts. The balcony plant survives. Mara plays the same piano piece Elias once sent at 2:03 am. It no longer sounds like a secret arguing with itself. It sounds like a door closing softly, because it leads to a room nobody lives in anymore. Then another door opens, not louder, just honest. If there's a moral, it's only this. Stories don't save people. People save people, one true sentence at a time.